Hello, my name's Guy Waddilove, and I wrote a book called Dragleon, from which I'd like to read an extract for you now. As a punishment for telling lies about having a Dragleon friend, a young girl called Nisa had been told to go and pick berries and mushrooms out in the forest. Some of the other children followed her. They were being mean to her, because they didn't believe her about her Dragleon either. So Nisa ran off, upset, with nobody but James, her invisible friend, for company. But the Dragleon was watching and heard it all, after teaching the other children a lesson which they wouldn't forget in a hurry. Off she trotted to look for Nisa. When she finally came across her, the little girl looked very odd indeed. She was leaning down and reaching towards some mushrooms on the forest floor, but without moving, as if she were frozen stiff. The Dragleon walked up to her, asking, "And how is James today? He's really very good at hiding, isn't he? Better than I ever was." Nisa didn't move a muscle, nor did she answer. She seemed rooted to the spot. "Is everything all right?" asked the Dragleon, becoming a little concerned. Nisa answered with a tiny whimper, full of fear, but stayed as still as stone, not even daring to look up at her. The Dragleon began to wonder what could be so wrong, and leaned down to take a closer look. The little girl looked sideways, her eyes wide with fear, but without ever moving her head. She stared at the Dragleon from the corners of her pleading eyes and whimpered yet again, clearly scared stiff, but flatly refusing to budge. "I'm sorry, I don't understand. Is this some sort of game you like to play?" asked the Dragleon. Poor Nisa was almost in tears by now. She looked desperate, so very afraid. But the Dragleon couldn't work out why. Why she wouldn't move, wouldn't speak even. Letting out an even more urgent whimper through tightly closed lips, Nisa's eyes looked straight ahead and back towards the Dragleon. She did it again, and again, and again. Wouldn't, or couldn't, move and speak, the Dragleon thought out loud. Finally, she thought to follow the child's gaze, peering into the dead leaves that littered the forest floor in front of her frozen, outstretched hand. There, a deadly viper lay coiled up among the leaves, so well hidden she hadn't even noticed it. "Oh, good gracious, you poor child, no wonder you're scared stiff," the Dragleon burst out, her scales instantly turning into a mass of thorns. Nisa nodded and slumped, just a little, out of pure relief. But that was all it took. She'd moved. In a flash the snake struck, mouth agape. The Dragleon spun quickly, whipping her tail around. Long curved fangs streaked towards Nisa's outstretched hand. She screamed and fell over backwards. It all happened so quickly. The viper's fangs struck the Dragleon's tail instead. "No!" screeched Nisa, scrabbling further back. The snake bit down. Now it was the Dragleon's turn to whimper. The fat viper hissed, recoiling already. Are you all right?" Nisa pleaded. Yes, I think I'm okay," muttered the Dragleon, looking like she might faint at any moment. "Saved by my own skin, you could say," she added, inspecting her thorny tail closely. The viper seemed to be having trouble folding his fangs back into place and closing his mouth. "You broke its teeth, look!" cried Nisa, with a nervous little laugh. The snake was furious, though. It wanted revenge. Its hollow fangs may have snapped on the Dragleon's hard scales, but it could still bite and inject its venom. "Look out, it's coming again!" yelled Nisa, jumping backwards. The snake slithered forwards, rustling towards them through the dead leaves. The Dragleon lowered her head. "Determined little thing, aren't you?" she breathed out, thinking happy thoughts. The viper reared right up, to Nisa's horror. Instead of striking again, though, it wiggled and jiggled about, as if doing a little dance. Nisa was stunned. It was! The snake was actually dancing. It even appeared to be grinning. "He won't hurt you now. He'll be a happy little chappie for a while," smiled the Dragleon. "But you did know that it couldn't hurt you, didn't you?" asked the child. "I knew no such thing, to tell you the truth," the Dragleon answered. "Until just now, anyway." "Well, we'd better get out of here first, before whatever you just did to him wears off," said Nisa, staring at the viper, who was still smiling to himself and dancing his happy, wiggly jig. They walked away, with a fascinated child looking back over her shoulder every few steps. "I'm afraid he can't really wave goodbye, if that's what you're hoping for. He doesn't have the little arms or hands needed for waving, or I'm sure he probably would be," the Dragleon chuckled. Nisa giggled. and as soon as they were a safe distance from the snake, she flung her arms around the Dragleon's neck and hugged her. Thank you so much," she whispered in her ear. "You just saved my life, and you didn't even know you'd be safe when you did it." The Dragleon blushed, bright pink, all over. Thank you.